What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandru Ferdinando. Now, before we get into our stories in detail, let's take a quick look at your headlines for tonight.
Indian airstrikes target militants in Pakistan. Bilateral relations in chaos. Tear gas and water cannons fired to disperse protesting HND students. Decision on the preliminary objections in the petition filed challenging parliamentary seat of Ranil Wickremesinghe postponed to the 21st. President appoints 2 committees to review LNG power plant projects and tabs for students.
Now starting off with some news here in Colombo. The police took steps to disperse a group of higher national diploma students who staged a demonstration today, now demanding for the increase of the Mahapala allowance.
The demonstration was staged near the Presidential Secretariat today. A few representatives among the demonstrators were given the opportunity to discuss their issues with an officer attached to the Presidential Secretariat. Discussions lasted for nearly half an hour, and this was the situation following the meeting. The protest led to heavy traffic around the Colombo Fort area.
Meanwhile, President Maithripala Sirisena appointed 2 committees to look into the construction of the LNG power plant in Kerawalapitia and the awarding of tabs to school students.
The cabinet meeting at the Presidential Secretariat was chaired by President Maithripala Sirisena today. The President, who appointed a committee to inquire into the tender procurement process for the construction of an LNG power plant in Kerawalapitia, informed the committee to report back in a week. The committee includes Ministers Partali Champika Ranawaka, Malik Samaravikrama, Ravi Karunanayaka and Harsha De Silva. Ministers Eran Vikramaratne, Harin Fernando, Ajit P. Pereira and Akila Viraj Karyavasam are the members of the committee appointed to look into the awarding of tabs to school students. The committee report should be submitted to the President in a week.
විපක්ෂෙන් චෝදනා කරනවා මේ ඔබතුමාලගේ ආණ්ඩුවෙන් කිසිම නැහැ කිසිම ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ගැන චෝදනා විතරයි එල්ල කරන්නේ. විපක්ෂයට ආරාධනා කරන සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාසෙක් රටවට යන්න එන්නේ එතකොට පෙන්වන්න පුළුවන් වැඩ ටික. දැන් ජනාධිපතිතුමා සහ මහින්ද මහත්තයා අලුතෙන් සම්දානයක් හදාගන්න හදනවා. එතකොට ඔබතුමාලාට කොහොමද එක්සත් ජාතික කොටස දැඩි තර්ජනයක් කෙළ වෙන්නේ නේද? අපි බලමු මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා. අපිටත් තියෙන සම්දානයක් අතිකර ජනාධිපතිතුමාත් එක්ක. බලමු මොන සම්දානේද ඉදිරියට එන්නේ කියලා. ඔබතුමාලා ඉවසීමෙන් බලන් ඉන්නකෝ. හොඳ හොඳ දේවල් ඉදිරියට සිද්ධ වෙයි.
Tablet computers for advanced level students. This has been a matter in public discourse since it was first proposed in the budget of 2017. But what is the true motive behind this project? Let's first take a look at the facts. In 2017, 5 billion rupees was allocated through the budget to purchase tabs for advanced level students and teachers. On the 5th of June 2017, tenders were called for the purchase of these tabs. Now, a company was chosen through the tender procedure and it was decided to award the tender at a cost of 6.7 billion rupees. Due to certain irregularities on the manner in which the company was selected, a number of parties took the matter to the Procurement Appeal Board. Now, the Procurement Appeal Board ordered for the tender not to be awarded to this company and to be awarded to the lowest bidder among the remaining bidders. Now, of course, the next company that was selected too was not the lowest bidder. Now, when the matter was taken to the cabinet, the president intervened and stated that the awarding of the tabs should be halted as the government cannot spend such a large sum on the project given the country's economic situation at the time. Now, providing tabs was brought up again in September last year and again on the 14th of February this year. However, this time the minister has requested for an additional 1 billion rupees for the project, citing the depreciation of the rupee as the reason for this. Now, the tender will also be awarded to the same company that was selected through the tender procurement process in 2017. Now, the question remains, the specs in the computers that were procured in 2017 are still the same. And of course, as you know, as the technology advances, the price of these tablet computers would eventually reduce. But the minister has requested for additional money for this project. Also, there is a problem in awarding this project to the same company that was selected through the procurement process that was to be valid for the year 2017 alone, and that was put a stop by the president. Now, of course, on the other hand, there is no plan for what the students would do after they receive these tablet computers and how the teachers are going to incorporate this in their academic activities. Now, what more, the committee to create a plan on what should be done to the students after they receive the tabs was only appointed today. The committee to formulate this plan has only been appointed today. However, as we mentioned in our news bulletin before, the president has stepped in again and appointed a committee to review this project. Why are the politicians of our country holding the future lives of our children, of the future of this country at stake for their petty political gains? This is a question that we here at News First keep on posing to the general public. Of course, the true motive behind this project is still to be unveiled.
Tomorrow is the 27th of February. It's precisely 4 years since the greatest financial scam ever perpetrated on the people of Sri Lanka since independence. That's how the Attorney General's Department described it. Watch Newsline tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for a special 1 hour where we give you decisive, incisive information and analysis on the greatest fraud ever in Sri Lanka. Only on Newsline tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Continuing in local news now, the writ petition filed with the Court of Appeal challenging the parliamentary seat of leader United National Party Ranil Wickremesinghe was taken up before Justices Priyantha Fernando and Shriran Gunratne today.
President's Counsel K. Kanagiswaran, appearing for Prime Minister Wickremesinghe, filed a preliminary objection, and the decision on that will be delivered by the bench on the 21st of May. The petitioners and respondents were ordered by court to file their written submissions in court on or before the 1st of April. The petition was filed claiming Ranil Wickremesinghe cannot hold a parliamentary seat as he is the main shareholder of a private company named Lake House Printers and Publishers that generates revenue through services provided to government institutions. Shamila Gonawala in her petition notes, according to the constitution, a member of parliament cannot enter into business transactions with the government. The petition seeks a writ of quo warranto to be issued, preventing Ranil Wickremesinghe from functioning as a parliamentarian.
I believe this case will be a landmark in the history of Sri Lankan politics. I also repeat that this case was not filed to cause embarrassment or disgrace to anyone. I believe that the verdict will be a solution to bribery and corruption in our country. This case was filed for the benefit of the public. I have faith in the judiciary and hope for a favourable response.
යහපත් දෙයක් වෙයි කියන විශ්වාසය මට තියෙනවා. අධිකරණය ගැන මට විශ්වාසය තියෙනවා.
A meeting of the National Economic Council was convened at the Presidential Secretariat today.
The meeting, which was chaired by President Maithripala Sirisena, was attended by General Secretary of the National Economic Council, Professor Lalit Samarakoon, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. R.H.S. Samarakoon, and several others. Addressing the meeting, the President highlighted that the ETI depositors should be compensated as soon as possible. Several observations made by the National Economic Council on the sale of assets belonging to ETI Finance were presented today. The Council in their observations show that it is unclear as to whether the two local companies of the three companies that came forward to purchase ETI Finance were dealt with transparency during the dealings. It was also highlighted that the highest payment for the depositors was not bargained during the transactions. The Council also stated that it is unclear if all three companies were given similar opportunities when placing their bids.
The Supreme Court issued an interim injunction order today against the appointment of students who obtain their medical degrees from government medical faculties and the KDU Faculty of Medicine as medical interns.
Supreme Court Justices Prasanna Jayawardena, P. Pathman Surasena and S. Thueraja considered the fundamental rights petition filed by 3 medical degree students from SITEM and issued the order, which will be in effect until the 27th of next month. The petition claims that authorities decided to absorb an intake of interns while excluding 85 SITEM graduates who possess the requirements to be appointed as interns. The Supreme Court bench issued the interim injunction after President's counsel Upul Jayasuriya presented facts on behalf of the petitioners on the basis that his client's right to equality under the Constitution of Sri Lanka had been violated. Health Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne, Ministry Secretary, the Sri Lanka Medical Council, the Attorney General and the Director General Anil Jayasinghe were listed respondents in the case. Counsel appearing for the petitioners informed court a Supreme Court ruling had confirmed the students who obtained their degree from SITEM can engage in the medical profession following registration with the Sri Lanka Medical Council. A large group who were informed to obtain their appointments as interns were at Temple Trees today. Appointments were to be presented to the group under the auspices of the Prime Minister. However, following a court order, the program was suspended.
On the Newsline program this morning, key points of the greatest financial scam ever perpetrated on the people of Sri Lanka was revealed. Here's what was said.
There are several actions that happened. Here we go. 1. Recommending and vehemently supporting the appointment of Arjuna Mahendran as the governor. Requesting President Sirisena to place the central bank under the Ministry of National Policies. Stoutly defending Mahendran immediately after the scam and getting various deputy ministers and UNP ministers and MPs to support Mahendran. Publicly confirming that he, the Prime Minister, himself insisted that Mahendran change the system of issuing bonds. Even though Wickremesinghe had no technical knowledge in issuing bonds, it is a clear abuse of power of the Prime Minister. Next, appointing 3 UNP lawyers to investigate the bond scam. This is the Pitipana Committee. They had no knowledge of how the central bank operates. Expressing strong support to Mahendran while condemning many others and naming them in Parliament on the 17th of March 2015. Arranging for a UNP MP serving in court to immediately resign and appointing Sujiva Senasinghe in his place. Encouraging the MP Sujiva to write a book to justify the actions of Arjuna Mahendran. Encouraging UNP MPs to whitewash the scam at the court hearings chaired by Gunasekara. Prevailing upon President Sirisena to dissolve Parliament just a day before the court report was out. Encouraging and publicly supporting MP Sujiva Senasinghe to obtain a stay order from court to prevent the publication of the Gunasekara report. prevailing upon all MPs of the UNP in COPE to disagree with the contents of the 180 COPE report by inserting footnotes, prevailing upon the ministry officials to coerce and in essence force the central bank officials to withdraw objections that they made to the footnotes submitted by the UNP MPs at COPE, and that letter was rejected. Trying his utmost to have Mahendran reappointed for another term in spite of the growing evidence against him. Providing a position for Arjuna Mahendran in the Prime Minister's office in an advisory capacity as soon as Mahendran finished his term as governor, and when the President refused to give him another one. And finally, attempting to give an appointment as a consultant to the Ministry of Finance with perks and so on enjoyed by an additional secretary to Mr. Samarasiri, Deputy Governor, and at the time controversial chairman of the Treasury Tender Bond Committee.
Meanwhile, the identity of the severed head that was discovered at a cement factory in Paliguda was revealed. According to police, the identity was confirmed through a DNA test. Now, certain bone fragments suspected to belong to the same deceased individual was found in a stream at Paliguda.
A severed head of a man was found at a cement factory in Paliguda on the 12th of December last year. A dog was seen carrying the severed head of a man in the CCTV footage at the cement factory. Bone fragments were also discovered in close proximity to this cement factory. On the 20th of January, police discovered a charred body with limbs bound inside an apartment at the Golface Court housing complex in Colombo. The deceased worked as a cook at the apartment in which a British national and his spouse, a Thailand national, resided. Several days before the burnt body was discovered, a police complaint was filed citing the driver of the couple was missing. Tests confirmed remains from Paliguda and remains discovered from Golface Court are of the same person, now identified as 48-year-old Asoka Krishanta Sirivardhana, a father of two. He had accompanied a group of friends of the English national on a trip on the 4th of December and returned back to the house. He had contacted his son at 9:40 the next day, after which his phone had become non-responsive.
There was no number when we checked the phone, but the Kirulapana police had found a list of the calls, and in that list it shows a call was received at 9:40. The number is not in use to date. 4 back-to-back calls had been received to our father's phone, but it is not there in the phone records. They have been deleted.
The Colombo Crimes Division is investigating the incident.
A man found guilty for peddling heroin and possession charges was sentenced to death by Colombo High Court Judge Shashi Mahendran today.
The Police Narcotics Bureau arrested the suspect on the 11th of December 2017 down HR Jyotipala Mawatha in Colombo 14 for the possession of 105 grams of heroin. Indictments were filed against the suspect on possession and peddling charges and was sentenced to death by Colombo High Court Judge Shashi Mahendran today.
The Pudujana Peramuna convened a media briefing in Colombo today.
The government requires 7.8 billion rupees as recurrent expenditure on a daily basis. However, the present government has only found 4 billion rupees. The rest of the required funds are obtained through bank loans and swaps between banking institutions. The main issue is that investment in Sri Lanka has weakened. Apart from the tranche we received through the lease of the Hambantota port, what other funds did Sri Lanka receive? Apart from the investment projects signed till 2015, what were the other major investments that came to Sri Lanka? From what we see, the government cannot survive the current financial crisis even after the budget is made effective. Paying salaries to state workers has also become a major issue. The budget is just a fake attempt before holding elections. However, if elections are to be held, we agree.
Governor of the Central Province, Maitri Gunratna, spoke to the media following an event in Rikiligaskada today.
I don't think the government will have a problem in passing the budget because MPs can be brought for money. When they had problems before, they brought MPs for money. That's how they won the notion of no confidence. There are billions from the central bank bond scam. There are millions swindling from the coal deals. I think they will not have any issues in passing the budget. Today, MPs become an item that can be purchased for money.
Parliamentarian Dr. Jayampathi Wickramaratne states that President Maithripala Sirisena and opposition leader Mahinda Rajapaksa had agreed to abolish the executive presidency and Sri Lanka as a country that should take advantage of this.
The statement made by MP Dr. Jayampathi Wickramaratne in Rajagiri yesterday was published in today's newspaper. The MP stated that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has also agreed to abolish the executive presidential system, and therefore advantage of the situation must be taken to carry out the relevant constitutional reforms as soon as possible. MP Wickramaratne also stated that the executive presidency can be abolished before the next presidential election.
The 19th Amendment to the Constitution was prepared with the influence of harmful forces from the West and NGO dollar crows. It was prepared in a manner that would harm our country. However, President Maithripala Sirisena, with his straightforward approach, succeeded in removing several harmful forces to our country from the 19th Amendment to the Constitution. If the executive presidency had not been protected, Arjun Mahendran would have been remained as the governor of the central bank to date. Anyone who genuinely loves this country should not follow various political leaders to abolish the executive presidential system. They should further strengthen the presidential system and save our country from devastation and develop Sri Lanka. We must take steps to eradicate theft, corruption, bribery and misappropriation of public assets and take the country forward.
Foundation stone for the Asia's second largest statue of Lord Ganesh was laid at the Kavantisapura Dhamma Vijay Vihara in Tissa Maharama. The event was held under the auspices of leader of the Janasatha Peramuna Venerable Battaramulle Seelarathanathero.
A 21 feet high statue will be constructed at the Kavantisapura Dhamma Vijay Vihara in Tissa Maharama.
We will construct Asia's second largest statue of Lord Ganesh in 6 months. There was a time where both Buddhist and Hindu devotees joined hands to develop the country. Today, what are the politicians up to? They brought a so-called reconciliation which is only for themselves. We haven't received reconciliation. We are getting the stepmotherly treatment. These rulers do not know what reconciliation is.
Former chairman of Sri Lanka Cricket Selection Committee Sanat Jayasuriya has been banned from all activities related to cricket for 2 years by the ICC.
According to the ICC, Jayasuriya admitted to being in breach of the following provisions of the code: failure or refusal without compelling justification to cooperate with any investigation carried out by the Anti-Corruption Unit; obstructing or delaying any investigation, including concealing, tampering with or destroying any documentation or other information that may be relevant to that investigation. As a result of the admissions, he has accepted a sanction of a 2-year period of ineligibility. Sanat Jayasuriya in a statement says the ban stems from an alleged failure on his part to provide a SIM card and mobile phone immediately on demand to the ICC anti-corruption officers. He says it is unfortunate that the ICC ACU thought it fit to charge him under the code, although there were no allegations of corruption. He further noted that he accepted the charges, understanding that the investigations would consume a lot of time. Jayasuriya also noted that having admitted the said charges, he voluntarily suspended himself from all cricket-related activities from the 15th of October last year, as he was handed down a 2-year ban at that time. He also emphasized that he has no need to be involved in any corrupt act after proving enormous service towards the sport. It is no secret for the country's cricket fans on various dramatic investigations carried out by Alex Marshall and the officials of the ICC Anti-Corruption Unit during the recent past. It is dubious on certain acts of these officials on portraying Sri Lanka as the most corrupt cricketing nation and tarnishing the reputation of the sport in the country. Since the England tour, operating in various agendas in Sri Lanka, Alex Marshall and the anti-corruption officials have failed to prove that any of the Sri Lankan players or officials have been involved in any kind of match-fixing related activity. Aren't the officials of the ICC Anti-Corruption Unit trying to tarnish Sri Lanka's reputation and players in the caliber of Sanat Jayasuriya, who excelled at the highest level at the hands of the international community?
And that's a wrap for tonight. Do take care and good night.